All right, let's jump to some playoff stuff. I want to start with the Heat Celtics series. My understanding is that I don't know if you did this publicly or if you just texted a friend, but you picked the Celtics to win this series.
Yeah, the WNBA on one of their like Instagram reels did like a "who do you got for the finals" thing, and if you go watch it, I'm not on there sounding super confident, but I do say Celtics. Celtics does come out of my mouth.
What was it? What was it about the Celtics that you saw going into the playoffs?
I just really like Ime. I've known Ime for a long time, and then we actually got to reconnect at the Olympics when he was an assistant coach for the guys team, and so. I don't know. I just really like Ime. That's really what it was. It really wasn't specific to the basketball, but I do like the griminess of them. Like they grind it out. To me like playoffs.
Can we talk about Ime for a second though? Because I actually don't think we don't even really talk about him a ton on the show, even though we've had a bunch of those guys on. It doesn't seem like he's gotten enough credit for taking a roster, which, by and large has been a similar roster to what they've had over the last couple of years. And this does feel like a completely different Celtics team.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, especially you, JJ, you could talk more about like the whys and what they're doing. What I think is really, what Ime should be super proud of is they had a very rough start. And I think a lot of people didn't believe in it, didn't think it could happen, turn around, that they were going to be worse than they were in previous years, only to finally kind of like stay the course. And the couple interviews I've seen, he's kind of talked about that he had like a vision for what it was going to be. And they just kind of rode that out. And a lot of it started on the defensive end because clearly their offense will always kind of catch up at some point, given the talent they have. But yeah, I think Marcus Smart is probably... We can talk about Jayson Tatum. We can talk about Jaylen Brown, obviously. But Marcus Smart is that player where you're like, they win you playoff games. It's that grimy piece.
He's not their best player. I've said this a few times over the last 10 days. He, to me, is their most important player. Tommy, it's a great point you make because we don't give Ime Udoka probably enough attention and enough shout-outs, so let's do it now. I think I would like to provide a little bit of context on this. Of course, Brad goes upstairs. Ime gets the head coaching job. I think a little bit of what's changed since the last couple seasons is having switchable parts, having no weak defenders. And look, you can target Peyton Pritchard, and they did in game one, and they had a lot of success doing it. But the dude battles. So they get rid of Kemba Walker. They trade for Fournier. He was not the right guy to re-sign long-term. He's out. Robert Williams II develops. Grant Williams develops. They bring back Horford. Now they trade for Derek White. Now all of a sudden you have 7 guys. You have 7 rotation players that you cannot target. That explains a lot of their success. Now, give credit to Udoka for developing a defensive game plan night to night, developing a defensive scheme. He's done a great job with that. I think, to me, the biggest thing that has happened this year, and it didn't happen in the first 2 months, it didn't start happening till January, is that they figured out, and I don't know how, and I'm not in the locker room, but they figured out that Tatum is the alpha, Tatum is the Batman, Jaylen Brown is the Robin. And for a time, it felt like those guys couldn't quite grasp that. There was a little bit of that young player, I want to be the guy, you want to be the guy, and it felt like a little bit, and whether they're friends, obviously, like whether, Tatum talked about it on our podcast. He had conversations with Jaylen, like, we don't want to split up. We're 2 guys in our, entering our prime that are at an important position, and we can win. So I think figuring that out, I think, was huge. And I've been impressed, night to night in the playoffs, all the game planning against Kevin Durant, all the game planning against Kyrie Irving, adjusting that game plan game to game against Giannis, what they've done now with the Heat in this series, give him a lot of credit. He's done a fantastic job, and he's been one of the best coaches in the NBA this season.
They to your point, they've been extremely resilient. I mean, I think a lot of people were writing them off after Game 5 in the Milwaukee series. Yeah. When they blew that crazy lead, and it was like, all right, well, you're going to Milwaukee to play the defending champs and the best player in the world. Like, this thing is done.